Welcome everybody on today's Sit Down. The young man next to me is a world-renowned producer who loves the film industry. With 14 years of production experience and having produced everything from commercials, dossier dramas, talk shows, branded content, big music format shows, and feature films. He's a well-renowned producer who is accustomed to working with both local and international brands. He has produced award-winning work that includes the Bronze Canes line and Gold at the Festival of Media Global. His focus is creating, developing and producing scripted content with some of his top creations which we all love watching, like Openbarigs, Zama Zama, and the one and only Ludik, the very first Netflix production to include 5 South African languages and also reach top 10 films on Netflix. Founder and owner of Rose and Oaks Media. He's a devoted husband, loving father, true professional, and just a stand-up guy. Mr. Paul Bays, welcome to the famous couch.
Thanks, Bobby. I appreciate it. It's nice to actually feel it.
Thank you for agreeing to do this interview. It is an absolute honor to have you in front of the camera, where normally you are behind the camera.
Yeah, it's still odd for me to be in front of the camera, but I appreciate you taking the time to ask me some questions.
It's a real honor. Thank you, sir.
And it's a huge intro you gave me. Now I know why I feel so physically old, because I went through all of that.
So it's not easy being great, and you are great, sir. And the reason you are is because you've had to go through this.
Look, greatness is a pursuit. It's not okay. Greatness is a pursuit. So thanks for that, but it's a long way to go.
Just a tip for everybody watching. The only person that ever responds with that when I give him that is a true professional, which you are. And
thanks.
On the pursuit of greatness, you've achieved some amazing stuff, sir.
Yeah, thanks. It's a team effort, but I appreciate that. Yeah.
Cool. My favorite question, the first one I always kick off with, is if we could, boom, magically snap the finger, 17-year-old version walks in, sits on the couch, and you're looking at him like, wow, I remember that time. It's just a few years ago. You're a very young guy. What are your priorities? What are you thinking about? What's important to you at 17? Like, what's going on in your brilliant mind?
Yeah, well, brilliant mind again. It's a stretch, but thank you. I think me at 17 years old, Bobby. I'm a guy. I did standard 6 twice.
Okay.
So I'm more educated than most people in high school. I did stand 6 twice just because of a lack of attention, bad friends, being a bad friend, just concentrating on the wrong things. And I think that also gave me a bit of a different maturity by the time I was 17. Went through a couple of things. I would call myself a bully early high school. So me at 17, I think it's a weird thing, because starting out as drinking, at early in high school, 13, 14, drinking, smoking cigarettes, going out and partying. No.
Me and you would have been great friends in high school.
And the thing is, people don't speak about this, right?
So I'm open to speak about it.
Exactly. So and I think it's an important thing for any person to go through. Maybe not at that age necessarily, but I think, vroeg rijp, vroeg vrot,
yes.
Afrikaans saying. But then I think you got the opportunity to kind of reinvent yourself, especially at that age. And I think me at 17, I was actually a bit more post-bullying, post-partying so hard, which sounds strange at 17, but I was a bit of a romantic, and I was trying to be a good friend, and I was just trying to have fun, and also trying to figure out who I am. I think, as most people do at that age, you're not sure who you are yet. You know what you kind of like, what you don't like. But yeah, me at 17, I would say romantic and starting to fall in love with the arts, definitely.
Beautiful. So I picked up something that you mentioned, and I hope one or two of you also picked it up. You've got incredible self-awareness, and why I say so is because you had bad friends, and you were a bad friend as well. Sure. So knowing what you influence your friends to do and how you were influenced yourself is a very big thing, because now you can say, okay, I need to be this for my wife. I need to
Yes.
be this for this friend, and I need to be a different person
Yes.
for the other friend. Love that statement.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So-
it's important.
You're 17, you're falling in love with the art, you're a romantic. How does life, take you through the paths to end up, doing the amazing things that you've achieved? How does that career path take place?
So it started in high school. I started taking drama classes. I mean,
Okay.
Primary school I did Eisteddford and things like that. So I always was prone to want to express something in some way or form, even though the consciousness wasn't that, the awareness wasn't that at that time. But looking back, it was that. It was the
The burning desire.
it was the
there.
burning desire to express something or
Okay.
to challenge yourself in some way, some sort, but as an individual, right? Not as I played rugby and those things, but I mean, I was never first team. I was always in the Carson Vane spun,
Carson Vane
yeah,
spun.
having more fun than anything else, and not taking practice seriously, all that stuff. But I think it was acting. So I took drama classes in high school. And then I did a stage play in high school, and we got the opportunity to come and perform the stage play here at the Klein Theater in Pretoria. And we competed against Gauteng schools, which is a big thing. I grew up in Secunda, Mpumalanga, which is a small town.
Yes.
We got more liquor stores than churches in Secunda when I was growing up. So that also says a lot. But
I love Secunda with a romantic burning flame.
Well,
Every time you
exactly.
come in and go out, I love
Exactly.
Secunda.
The looks deceive because the smell kind of throws you off. Right? But yeah, I think it was definitely acting. I think it was being part of an at high school. Like, this is a Secunda hoërskool Secunda verhoogproduksie. So it was literally us performing this. I can't even remember the name of it. I played a father.
Okay.
I think it was 16, 17. I played the role of a father, and I think a key moment that really made me fall in love with the arts, if I couldn't call that, not music, specifically acting, performing, was we performed at the Pretoria Theatre. And what happened was there was one specific scene where my wife is leaving, and it's like, but I'm like a 16, 17-year-old kid, right? What do I know about these emotions?
Yeah.
And I had a great teacher, for Louette de Jager. She was my biology teacher, also the director of the play. And I didn't know what to do in this specific moment, what my character would do, what I must say. And all she said was like, just trust yourself in the moment.
Wow.
So, first of all, at that age, you don't know what that means. Like, trust yourself in the moment.
goes
It's like,
over your
it's
head.
like, okay, I'll just say whatever comes to mind. And then what happened was Afrikaans stage play. I remember I was holding a, what do you call a skunk board?
Yeah.
In English.
A dishing tray.
A dishing
like
tray.
a dishing
Right,
tray.
and
Yeah.
it was like
I'm impressed that I knew what
Yeah,
that was off
exactly.
the bat.
I was holding a dishing tray, and it was at like a dining room table on stage, and the theater was full. And I remember I like looked down at this dishing tray, and was just like, the words I said was, "Damn it, Rose." Rose was the name of my wife. "Damn it, Rose," and I hit the dishing tray on the table, and I walked off stage, right? And in that moment, there was a sense of realness to it, because I wasn't expecting. I didn't know what I was going to say. I honestly,
Until that split
that
second.
moment, that's just what came out. It was the frustration, but in that split second, it felt like I felt something real, but it wasn't me. Like I was channeling something.
Amazing.
And that really intrigued me. That I always had a love for movies and things like that. I would watch the same movie 15, 20, 30 times over. I would start to know all the dialogue, which is I could just watch it over and over, like almost any movie. But that was the moment when I said those words that I felt a connection with this abstract thing that we're trying to do, still to this day.
So, a couple of how this interview got set up is a couple of weeks ago. Ludik is out on Netflix, and it's a Sunday. I'm a big movie guy. I'm not a big TV guy.
That TV is a commitment.
Correct. I love movies, and I see Ludik out, and Vince, who's off camera, he's my running mate. He runs the marketing department. He runs the show. And he was sick. He never gets sick. He was sick. Anyway, I pick up the phone. I'm like, listen to me. I don't know how sick you are. You have to watch Ludik. So he's like, I'm watching Ludik. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
We have to get Paul. Like, it is from the bottom of my heart. I don't know how I can compliment you, but this is my opportunity to try. I'm an immigrant child, born in Eastern Europe, grew up in cold weather, communist system, rough times. My parents seeked a better life for me and my sister. Brought us here. I was 8.5 years old. I was still a small child, didn't know how to speak English or Afrikaans. I experienced the bullying, eventually, grew past that. And I'm a proud South African. Like, I love this country. I'm a proud South African. Ludik speaks to the culture. And when I saw it on Netflix, I already knew this is an American, Arnold Vosloo he's almost gonna bring a type of an angle to the series which I'm not gonna approve of, as much as I love him.
Yeah.
Like, I sat and I'm like, I don't know, but I'm excited to see. You executed so well. It speaks to the Afrikaans culture when you are 60, when you're in your 30s, and when you're a young boy. Because I'm not 60 yet, but I've seen, the person behind the person, the facade that we saw, in a couple of the characters. It speaks to colored culture, which is so unique to South Africa. Like, you can't explain. Phenomenal job.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's
unreal.
And the compliment is me being here with you today. Thank you. That's a big enough compliment, so I can share this couch. That's a big thing. So thank you. And it's weird because the things you pick up on is the things we purposefully built into the show, and it's the patriarchy. Of that which this nation was built on.
Yes.
Essentially, which is crazy to think of. But it's also showing you behind the facade. It's showing you different characters, and some of them you understand, some of them you don't. Some of them we took more time to understand, some of them we didn't. But it was important for me to, since we were in film school, actually, I had this idea of I want to bring Arnold Vosloo back in an Afrikaans leading role.
So this was not an idea that you got 6, 12, 18 months ago.
No.
When did you write Ludik?
So we started, myself and Annemarie van Basten, we went to film school together. We call it Tippie. So if ever I say Tippie, I'm referring to Annemarie van Basten.
Okay, good.
Because she was born, and it was Irish nurses in the hospital, and Tippie means little one. Because she was a little baby.
Okay.
So if I say Tippie, I mean Annemarie van Basten.
Okay.
Who's a great friend of mine. So I had this idea. I was working for a media agency in 2012, 2013. And I had this idea.
That's 10 years ago.
It's 10 years ago, yeah. And then, but before that, in film school, 2006, 2007, I started getting this feeling, sounds weird, but I had this notion of I want to bring Arnold Vosloo back into an Afrikaans leading role. That was just this weird notion that I had. And then in 2012, 2013, I started thinking, cool, what am I up to? Like, where am I headed? What's the plan? Like, is there a plan? And I was just like, cool, I wanted to do this. Let me do this. And I wanted to bring Arnold Vosloo back, and the idea I had was tow truck mafia. So it was an Afrikaans thing. It was called insleep mafia, right? Because mafia is not mafia. Tow truck's a dark world, right?
So mind you, it still is.
It's not well, exactly. It's still way relevant. And that's why we still have elements of it inside Ludik.
I think it's darker now than it ever was. By the way,
for sure. But the idea was to do a territory war between, tow truck company owners. That was the idea, and we might still delve into that down the line.
Please do.
But because it's an interesting world, people throwing bricks on the highway so guys can get flat tires, and it's just all sorts of things you can explore. And I mean, the characters behind that is really intriguing.
So, just off topic, because you brought it up. I've never had an accident in my life, ever, except one. And I'm driving down a road, just started raining, and my car spins out of control. And the one airbag hits me so hard from the front, and the one from the side, like my glasses are all wonky, and I don't know where I am, and I climb out. And before I could open my door, a tow truck driver comes to me and says, "Hey bro, is you okay?"
Yeah.
And I'm thinking now, I'm not hurt, the airbag's
protected. Hey bro.
Hey bro, is you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Like, the car is one thing, it's got insurance. My laptop, please, like, nothing must happen to my laptop. I grab my laptop, and as I walk up the street, I can see like a glare on the road.
Well,
diesel or oil, and a few cars start like spin out of control. But yes, definitely a dark world. Very
dark world. Very territorial, and it's just an interesting setting.
It's a mafia.
Haven't seen it before. look, it's mafia, right? I don't know the people involved, just to make that clear, but it's definitely, I mean, any logical person or pragmatic person can think it's a mafia setup, right?
100%.
So that was the idea. So Anna-Marie at that stage, she went to study writing in the UK.
In the UK.
So while we were at AFTA in Johannesburg, 2006, 2008, she was my cinematographer. So I would produce the student films we made, and she would shoot them, right?
Okay.
After that, she went to London to go and study there, and she got like a writing bursary, and because she was always involved in the storytelling.
Wow.
And then she came back from the UK, and I gave her a call, like, cool, what you up to? She's like, no, I'm writing. I said, great, come and visit me, right? So she came over. We may or may not have had something to smoke that day, and then we started, and then we started discussing. Under my lapa, right? So this is how Afrikaans Ludik is. In Centurion, under my lapa, you know, me and Anna-Marie from Boston, we sat, and I told her, look, I've got this idea. I'm not really sure where it's going, but I've got a sense of what it must be. And I told her it's called Insleep Mafia, and Arnold Vosloo is the lead, and he's a Pretoria businessman that does underhand dealings. That was the premise of it. And as we sat and we discussed each character, like Hein and his wife Maureen and the daughter Louise, and as we kind of brought these characters to life to kind of fill this world, we realized that we're actually a season or two ahead with the storyline we're pushing. And then we reverted to what you guys know Ludik is now. Which is an odd thing to do. We just felt that in the entire narrative of the entire Ludik story, which isn't just 6 episodes.
Thank goodness. That was like a big question.
Well, we haven't got the green light yet, but we're hoping we will soon, right? So, but in the narrative, the story we want to tell, we were about a season or 2 ahead.
Okay.
Right, and then we said, cool, let's just bring it back. Let's bring it back. And then we changed certain things. We had him, you know, smuggle diamonds, spoiler alert, smuggling diamonds, and he's like this business, you know, furniture store owner. And it gets pulled deeper into the underworld. And that was the idea. And the idea was always to show the heart of an Afrikaans family, right? Which is like, you know, it's in the traditional sense, meaning it dawns an older character. He's got a younger son, he's got a new wife, you know, he's got a daughter from an ex-wife. And the family dynamics in that, because we all know people in that scenario.
100%.
You know, it's
That's
a
all around
thing.
us.
Exactly. And also, but to show it as an Afrikaans family, you know?
Yes.
But then if it goes out and he works, we work in English. We deal in English. We make deals in English. We work professionally. We're English. We're not Afrikaans.
Yes.
You know? And if you're Xhosa, you deal in English. That's what you do.
Yes.
And I think that's what gave Ludik the nice balance. We made the family Afrikaans, and we made the business dealings and the trouble English.
Amazing.
And I think that gave it a nice, rounded approach.
Like, how does one get recognized by Netflix? Do you like, hey, there's an email, this is a script, this is what we're working on. If you don't mind me asking, is that a very tedious process, or is it
It is extremely tedious. If you aren't, I mean, every industry's got the top 5, right? The big 5 players in the
every
industry, right?
does,
And obviously everyone wants to be in the top 5, because then you know, it's a continuous, steady
doors open.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're not one of those, it's really difficult to get in the room, or to get access, to get, you know, telephone numbers, to get email addresses. I mean, I know of many people who actually, because Netflix's head office is in EMEA, in Amsterdam, right? So they run the EMEA region. And I know people who flew to Amsterdam with scripts, knocked on the door.
That's what I would do.
And then Netflix told them, like, cool, on your way out, grab a Coke Zero, we can't see you.
Wow.
You know, so because, I mean,
can you imagine
IP,
how many
copyright
people?
protection, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of aspects to it. It's not just like, we know you are. There's also like, we might be busy with something similar, and it can get us into legal trouble, right? It's more than, it's about the IP. Protect IP, and you have to protect other people's IP, right? So it's a more dynamic thing than just access, right? But it is a struggle. It's a struggle to get, you know, to get in touch with the right person, but also with the right person at the right time with the right idea. And essentially, if you look at what we do, is you guys sell cars, right?
Yes.
It's a tangible asset that you're selling, right? You either like it, you don't like it, you either can afford it, you can't afford it.
Yes.
When I come and I pitch you a story, I pitch you an idea.
Yeah.
And
Huge
there's no
difference.
tangibility to it,
Huge
except your track record. Right?
Except your track record.
Your track record makes what you're pitching legitimate or not. And that's why reputation is so important.
And you know, going to the big leagues, you don't really have a great track record yet.
No, you don't.
So that's the challenge.
No, you don't.
that
No
you
one
solve
knows
for
of you,
that,
because
yeah.
until you've really done something, no one knows who you are. You know, and it's strange because I have these conversations with friends and family, and I tell them, like, since Ludik has come out, there's already been a shift.
Yes.
You know, in the ethos of where I used to be and where I am now. And it's not from my side. Like, according to me, I've been doing what I've been doing for the past 12 years.
Yes.
You know, it's only now being able to get the opportunity to showcase it on a big platform like Netflix, where it seems like it's getting recognition. You know, so it's like, but in my head, I've been doing what we've been doing for 12 years.
So I love that you said that. Your capacity, you've always been an Oscar-winning producer. You are.
Well, it's what you strive to be.
You are. And your capacity will pull your reputation, your income, everything up, because you love the process.
Yes.
You're enjoying the results now, because it validates
Yes.
that the process is actually as good, if not better, than you had planned it out in your mind. But your capacity, you always knew. Like Muhammad Ali came up and said, I'm going to be the greatest of all time. I'm going to knock everybody out. And he knew that before he fought. Mike Tyson as well. But you now finally validated.
I can articulate exactly what it is in my mind.
Yes, please.
In my mind, I always knew I'm not the smartest person, I'm not the most intelligent person, but I always knew I'm an extremely quick learner. And if I can put myself in circumstances where I can learn and go through a process, I can repeat that and I can scale it. That's always what I knew. So I always knew that I'm a quick learner and I'm always willing to learn. And knowing that, you're much more willing to take on opportunities that other people don't see.
Because you adapt and you scale.
Because if I know what you know, I also know what I knew.
That's it.
So I know more than you do.
Absolutely. Love it.
And if you go through that process your entire life, you're learning from everyone you work. And it's not a thing that you're using someone. It's if you work with someone, take the opportunity to learn.
Absorb
it.
Beautiful.
And also teach other people. That's also very important.
Love it.
There's a saying, actually, I mentioned the guy earlier. It's a Xhosa guy, and he said, I'll never forget, it's a beautiful phrase. He says, we lift as we rise.
We lift as we rise.
Yeah. So as we rise,
we need to lift.
Take the people around us, and we all lift.
Love it.
Because if everybody does that, we'll all continue to grow and we'll all continue to rise, which is very important.
Beautiful. So, was it a smooth sailing? Listen, Arnold, this is the story. This is what you have to do. It's like mind blowing. I'm coming tomorrow, and everything just happens like in a fairy tale. I didn't think so.
Not at all. So let me give you the long version as short as possible.
Yeah.
Right. So me and Emery came up with the idea. We wrote the pilot episode, which is very similar to the first episode that you guys see on Netflix. Right. It's very similar to that. We wrote that, and I'm talking about 6 years ago. We wrote this, and we knew it was good, right? We knew it wasn't perfect, but we knew it was good, and it was different, right? Because there was nothing else like it, right? And that, because look, me and Henry spoke, and I was like, look, if we're gonna do this, we just need to do it, right? And then I was working as a line producer for a different production company, and I remember I was speaking to the owner about my ideas and what I want to do, because you want to associate, right? And then I told him that I wanna attach Arnold Vosloo to this drama series I have, and I'll never forget his words, because they ring true in a sense. He said, "Ag mens kan seker maar droom."
Mens kan seker maar droom.
Yeah. So to him, my idea of attaching Arnold Vosloo to my show, being where I was at that stage, was unfathomable. He couldn't, it was a dream, that's the dream, right? But it was in a sarcastic sense, jy kan seker maar droom, right? And I sit today, and Arnold has become, we're very friendly, we're on very good terms. He's a fantastic guy, but that planted something in me to be like, why not?
Of course.
And my approach, especially from there, because you work with people you shouldn't, and you learn as you go, but my approach became, why not?
Why not?
If I don't ask him, he can't say no, and he also can't say yes.
Yes, you have
right?
to ask him.
You have to ask. So what I did was, Bobby, which was grueling, I left that company who I worked for back then under some duress circumstances. I upped and I left, and I had to sell. I had a BMW F800 GS, which I loved. I had to sell that because obviously cash flow is king. I had to, I left in the middle of the month, without any prospects. I just left.
Oh man!
And I told my wife, like, look, I can't handle it anymore. I need to do my own thing. And she was like, do it. Like, however hard it's gonna be,
Let's go.
do it. Just do it. And I did it, and it was extremely hard. It was harder than I ever thought it was gonna be. And what happened, I started doing odd jobs on films. I was a unit manager and I was location manager, doing things to get an income to get by, but I always knew what the plan was. The plan was to get Ludik made because I knew it was the first step in the right direction.
Yes.
I didn't know what doors would open from that, but I knew it was the first step.
Yes.
And it was the most solid opportunity I had.
Your sequencing in your mind is, this is move one. I'm
Exactly.
Grandmaster chess player. This is move one.
Yeah, we'll do with move 2 when we get there.
100%.
Exactly. That was
a lot of people want to execute move 6.
No, you can't.
You need to
Because you'll never get to move 6. The
100%.
move 6 that you see now, you'll never reach that.
Unless you do move 1, 2, 3, 4,
Exactly.
5,
But,
and then 6.
but even then, 6 won't look like what you thought it looked like from where you were standing. Never.
Awesome.
It never looks like
just
that.
got goosebumps.
Never looks like that. So long story short, I was on the film set. The first day of shoot, I was driving a unit bakkie. And after 7 weeks of sending email after email after email to Arnold's agency in the States, right? Because also, they don't know who I am. I am no one. They don't know who I am. After for 7 weeks, I get an opportunity to phone Jim Gosnell, who's the head of APA, Arnold's agency.
You get a reply on mail that says,
like,
okay, I'll entertain a call.
Here's that phone number. Call Jim 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm like, great. I have to call Jim on my prepaid cell phone on a landline in America. Great, okay.
That's like 2,000 rand of airtime.
Exactly, right, exactly. So I'm like, okay, great. So now we finished shooting the first day, like a 14-hour day. I'm driving on my way back in the unit bakkie. Now it's time to call him, right? I pull over the bakkie next to the side of the road. I switch off the engines. I take probably 15, 16 deep breaths. I'm trembling because I've never talked to someone in what I do on that level.
At that level. That on its own is intimidating.
It's daunting, right? And now I've on my landline, on my cell phone landline, cool. Secretary answers, puts me through to Jim, and Jim is a typical American, right? Great guy. Hey, Paul, how's it going? I'm like, hey, Jim,
what's happening?
It's going great, man. It's nice to finally speak to the big kahuna, So now I'm trying to be warm and open to this guy. But when I was sitting in a unit bakkie, like a Nissan hard body, after a 14-hour shoot day, running cables and doing like laborious work. Now I'm phoning this guy who's the head of the agency, and they're one of the big 5 agencies in the world.
Beautiful.
And he's like, no, I still clean the windows. And I said, yeah, well, Jim, that's because you choose to, not because you have to, right? And that kind of broke the ice between us. That was our first words to each other. And I started telling him how much I like Arnold Vosloo, and how I want him to be the lead in this show that I want to do in South Africa, and he's like a good bad guy. And back then Ray Donovan was just becoming a big thing. I was like, it's like a Ray Donovan, but it's in Pretoria and it's Afrikaans and he's
loved Ray Donovan.
Exactly, and there was that kind of thing, and he loved it. It was like, no, Paul, I love it, and I think Arnold deserves a lead in the show, and it was like, so how much is the budget? And I'm like, give him around like $800,000, and he's like, oh wow, that's not bad, and that's per episode. I'm like, no. That's for 13 episodes. And I could literally hear a penny drop on the phone. I could literally feel him go like, oh, this was a waste of time taking this call. No, he didn't say it, but I could feel it. Yes, it was like, okay, Paul, let's think about it, we'll get back to you. Right? But now remember, I haven't sold this show to anybody. I haven't sold it or pitched it to anybody, because as a producer, I want to attach a name to it so I can take it to someone, because by myself, my own name, I don't have enough track record to go and say, cool, I'm making this.
Not yet.
Not yet, right? So then what must I do? I must associate with someone who brings legitimacy to it. So I want to associate with Arnold Vosloo, attach him as the lead, then go to a broadcast and say, cool, I've got Arnold Vosloo, who you don't have, and he wants to do my show, so let's do the show, right? That's the strategy.
That's the sell.
That's the sell. 3 weeks go by, nothing from Jim. Out of the blue, I get an email from Nadia Vosloo, Arnold's sister.
What?
Right? Who I tried to approach on Facebook a couple of weeks before I got a hold of Jim at APA, just because I thought, let me try and get, you wheel and deal.
You need to be relentless.
You need to be relentless. And then she sends me a mail, said, cool, Jim, sent her an email, and I'm gonna send her the script. So I'm like, call Anna Marie. I'm like, hey, this is happening. Like, I'm so excited, but I'm so nervous. Like, here we go. I'm sending the script. Great, send the script. Episode 1.
Send the script to
Arnold's sister, Nadia.
Okay.
Well, I love Nadia. Nadia, we also became good friends.
Does she stay in SA?
She lives in Alberton.
Man.
She was head of PR for Total South Africa. So it was a great, amazing woman.
Beautiful.
Long story short, she reads it. She sends me a mail. She says she likes it. She's going to pass it on to Arnold.
So she's the filter.
She's the filter.
First gatekeeper loves
First gatekeeper girl sends it to Arnold.
I'm getting goosebumps, my friend.
I think it was a day or two later. She replies, says, right, Arnold read it. He likes it. He's in. What's next? Right? So then I'm like, okay, I don't know what's next. Right? But she also says in the mail, let us know if there's anything we can do to help.
Oh.
Right? So again,
ammo.
Emotionally intelligent people. Right? Which is important.
Very.
I'm like, cool. I phone Anna Marie. I'm like, look, I got the mail. Arnold likes it. I haven't spoken to Arnold. I haven't met him. I phone Anna Marie in the UK. Arnold likes it. I think I'm going to ask him to send us a video of him saying that he wants to come and do Ludik, just as a proof of life. So I can give that to a broadcaster and say, cool. It's not just, I'm not emailing saying Arnold likes this, he wants to be in it. I'm sending you a video of him saying he wants to be it. And he's mentioning your name in the video. So that's what I did. So I was like, here goes nothing. We've come this far, we might as well. Hi, Nadia. Great news is Arnold loves it. We're really excited about it. I do have something you can help with. Will it be possible for Arnold Vosloo to send me a video saying X, Y, Z? Radio silence. I'm like, okay, I've just blew it. Like, I just blew it because I was asking too much. Right? A couple of days later, get a link, Apple link, click on it, Arnold Vosloo. In Afrikaans, saying what I asked him to say. But the most beautiful, charming man delivering these words. Amazing.
Download, save.
Download, save, share to Anna Marie. I show my wife, I show my entire family. Like, look at this. This is like 6 years ago.
That's what I would do. Status update.
Exactly. This is
not yet.
No, not yet. This is like 6 years ago, right? I'm like
wow.
over the moon. I mean, you can imagine from being in the position I just sketched for you, to get that kind of news. It's life changing, but nothing's changed. But something has.
My friend, it's like
you're in limbo.
Yeah, it's like, growing up in a township and getting a Manchester United contract to play at the age of 19 or whatever.
Well,
it's mind-blowing.
It's that big, and from my perspective, it was that big, right? And for me, then it was like, cool, the script's good, it's a no-brainer. They're going to love this, right? Send it in, gets turned down. With Arnold attached to it, gets turned down.
Gets turned down.
This was 5 years ago. It was too dark, right? For the broadcast, it was too dark. And I phoned Anna Marie, I'm like, cool, they turned it down. In the meantime, Arnold came to South Africa to visit his mom and his sister in Alberton. And they invite me for lunch, and I meet him for the first time.
How does that event take place? Are you knocking on the door and here comes the mummy?
Yes.
How does that work?
Yes, essentially that's exactly how it works. So we rock up at this house in Alberton, and Nadia's there. I've spoken to her a couple of times on the phone, and Arnold's there, and he's just a cool guy. He's like a cool. Look, I always knew in my mind that the things that he's accomplished and the people he's worked with and whatever and where he is, you have to be cool. Like, and I mean cool. You have to be cool. You have to be suave. You have to be cool. You have to be slick. You have to be interesting. But I didn't think he would be this cool.
Okay,
so he's a really cool, suave, charming, friendly, loving, gentle guy.
It says a lot, because sometimes you meet your heroes and they disappoint you.
Yes.
They really do, because I've never met a person that can walk on water.
No.
None of us do.
No.
But then sometimes you just meet that person that you've built up so high in your mind, and
Yeah.
it's just on a different level. Amazing.
It's exactly that. But he's down to earth, and we spoke about movies, and one of the things, because obviously he worked with Leonardo DiCaprio,
Yes.
right? So and I'm a big Leonardo DiCaprio
Me
fan.
too. Me
and,
too.
And one of my, I was just like, you know what, I'm here because Nadia eventually left, and I was standing there, we were drinking beer together, and just, you know, talking cock, you know, it was great. And I was like, I'm just going to ask him, like, so how's Leo? Like, how's it interacting with Leo DiCaprio? And he's like, no, Leo's cool. You know, and then he started to tell me a bit about what the interactions are like, and because they still see each other now and then, and it was surreal. In the moment, it was just like, okay, this is different, feels different. But then obviously, you know, the broadcaster turned it down. And I get it, they have their mandate, they have their set thing, and Ludik didn't at that stage fit into their ethos. They didn't have a place for it.
The broadcaster, sorry, I'm asking you, we can skip forward. That turned it down is not Netflix at that stage.
No,
Not
Netflix wasn't in the country at that stage.
Okay, got you.
So
Got
this is so it's also important to remember the last 5 years a lot has changed
Yes.
in the media and content landscape.
Yes.
With technology also
Yes,
accessible
sir.
internet, everything. So a lot has changed. So that's why I'm saying I understand why they passed on it, right? It was a no-name producer, right? No-name writers
With a big heavyweight.
with a big heavyweight attached to it, right? But a dark story. It wasn't a typical Afrikaans story.
Yes.
And I get it. Disappointed, but I get it. And then eventually, long story short, Netflix came into South Africa. And we were here for a year or so. We got the opportunity through being relentless to present Ludik to them. And the head of Netflix Africa, Ben Ahmad Hassan, great guy. He believed in us. He believed in me. He believed in my business partners, Frankie and Anele, who I'm Rosen Oaks Media with. And he loved Arnold. Arnold has done Silverton Siege.
Yes.
You know, so he really liked working with Arnold. And he literally said, like, let's do it.
Green lights.
He said, let's do it. In that process, we obviously, you know, as one does, you learn a lot. You associate with certain people who kind of try and turn on you or try and take things away from you, and they probably have their own reasons, but luckily we managed to avoid that and pull the show through, which was very difficult. But here we are today, Bobby. We're here today. Ludik is done it. Just getting it made is such a big accomplishment for myself and for Anne-Marie and for Arnold, because I mean,
think
we were
for
there
South
from day
Africa,
one.
my friend. For South Africa, because it's
Yeah.
literally put our country and our diverse mix of cultures on the map. It really has.
It has. And look, what I'm very proud of is I think it's a very inclusive show.
Yes.
It's a very representative show in terms of how things work and how people operate and what, and you know, and how the cultures interact professionally and whatever. I think that's very true to it. And I also think that it's made in a way where it feels authentic. It feels like it feels like it's got an international vibe to it, but it's still recognizable.
Absolutely.
And
That's difficult.
and it's very difficult to pull off. But kudos to Netflix. They gave me and the creative team who were involved, the directors Ian Gabriel, Harold Holscher, and Arnold, the actors. They gave us the freedom to do it the way we want to do it. Like, I literally had the freedom to change lines on set. I had the freedom to change wardrobe, to change locations, to change storyline. Whatever I wanted to change, I was able to change without having to check it with them first. And that made it an incredibly enriching creative process, which was fantastic. And I mean, I could get Peach from Plets and the guys from Bitter End to do the music for us. I mean, you haven't heard music like this on the show before.
Yes.
You know,
100%.
I could get a DOP who I think is literally one of the best DOPs in the country, Christian Wolf, to shoot a narrative of this magnitude. You know, I believed in, he believed in me, I believed in him, and I could get the people involved, literally take hands and say, cool, we trust each other, we have the same understanding, let's do it. And it was tough, and we didn't have a lot of money. I know it looks like it. It was not the case. We shot the entire series in 6 weeks, you know, which is half of the time you usually have to shoot 6 episodes. So we shot in 6 weeks. We had 30 odd locations. We had 58 speaking parts. You know, we shot in rainy season. We shot it October, November 2021.
Wow.
So it was an incredibly we shot between 10 and 14 pages every single day, single camera on location.
Wow.
So it was an incredibly difficult production to pull off. But again, with the right team and with the right attitude, it was an amazing experience.
On that note, you've pulled it off. You've created something that I said earlier that has put not only our country, our culture on the world stage. To be able to achieve that, can you please share? And I want to combine my question because we've got the landmine question and biggest failures in your career. What can you share with us that will help us? Maybe off camera we're having a discussion about technology. Give us the GPS coordinates of where we shouldn't be stepping, so that if we have a vision, irrelevant in which industry, because advice from you will be evergreen in any industry, like some of the mistakes that you've made that you are like, shucks, that set me back 3 months or 6 months or 2 years, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's a great question, Bobby, because I think one of the big landmines that I've stepped on in the past is trusting people maybe too much. And I think that comes with a bit of emotional intelligence and experience, and you need to go through those things in order to, to understand it and understand personality types. Because there's some psychology to it, right? You have to understand that people are people.
Yeah.
And people have characters.
Yeah.
And characters are categorized and characterized for a reason, because they have got a certain tendency to repeat itself. And I think if you learn which people you can relate to, and which people you can attach to, and which people you can work with, I think you are better off to do so. So big landmines was, narcissistic people, everything's about them, paranoid people, they're paranoid for a reason. If you work with someone and they're paranoid for a reason, because they're afraid people can do with them what they do to other people.
Gotcha.
That's usually the fact, right? So I think that's a big thing. I like consistency. I like it when I pick up the phone and I phone Bobby at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. It's the same Bobby that answers the phone. It's not two different personalities, or the reactions are what I expected. I like consistency. And something that took me a long time to learn is that if I pick up the phone and I phone you and I feel something's out of character, I immediately put up a red flag in my mind, just to be like, okay, let's just take a step back, let's reevaluate, let's just see where this is going before I get too attached to it. Because what I tend to do is I attach to people, because I think I associate people with opportunities for everybody involved. So that's why characteristics and knowing where someone is headed, knowing where they're at, knowing what they need, knowing what you need, and then having an open conversation about that. Not being sly about it, not using them, but to say, guys, I see you're headed there, I'm also headed there. So let's see if we can get each other there faster. I think that association is a big business principle.
Yeah.
But it's also the same thing in your life. There's that old saying that says, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
So true.
Which is very true.
So true.
That's why you need to have different friends, right? You need to have friends that associate with family.
Yes.
And your value system. Sorry. And then you need to have business friends, and people who are more intellectual, people who are more emotional, but you have to make sure all those people fall within the value chain that you would like to project, that you would like to end up with, because otherwise they're just going to keep you static or bring you down.
So important. People don't get this. If I've read a book a while ago that speaks about temperatures and the way some people's temperature is higher in a certain aspect of their life. So you can't go and counsel with your friends about marriage, from a dude that's been divorced 4 times.
Well, exactly.
You're not the right guy.
No.
Maybe you're the money guy. You're the money guy.
Exactly.
But I'm gonna extract only the money part out.
Yes.
Your values and principles don't align with mine, but I can learn about work ethic, and I can incorporate some of the good into the value chain. So I love it. A red flag for me, I love what you said, consistency. There's a difference between somebody, listen, I'm busy, can I call you back in 10 minutes? I'm just in a boardroom or in a meeting or whatever. I'm sorry, buddy, I'll call you back. Or, it's a completely different person that you're speaking to. Many people like that in the business world, unfortunately. Big red flag for me as well. Because later on, you're going to start wondering, which person is going to show up.
Yes.
Is it the bully, or is it the guy that wants to cooperate when it suits him?
Who's standing behind you?
Who's standing behind you?
Is it the bully or the friend?
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
Because in business you're standing there naked.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to be careful who's standing behind you.
Love it.
You know, because
Love
they can
it.
expose you.
Yes.
You're vulnerable.
Yes.
So you have to be careful about it. And that's why, you know, I'm very grateful for my business partners, specifically Anele and Frankie. Obviously, Anele is a media powerhouse.
she's a beast.
She's a force of nature. It's the best way to describe her. And Frankie is an incredible guy. And I'm lucky that our paths crossed and we had an alignment. And which is weird, I actually wrote down, because they say you have to write things down, right? And they also say when you manifest things, you shouldn't tell anybody about it.
Okay.
Right? You should keep it to yourself. You shouldn't proclaim it to everyone. You know, there's some things you know that you might not feel comfortable saying to anybody.
A little bit of a dark side, yes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Which is good.
Yeah, exactly. But in terms of what your goals or what your real vision is for something,
Yes.
and I think that's important. Actually, I wrote down in a bit of a mission statement when we started Rose and Oaks Media 4 years ago. I wrote there that we aim to be one of the top 5 production companies in South Africa within 5 years.
Beautiful.
And we're not there yet. We still have a year to go. But I think we're solidly on our way.
Definitely
on our way to get there. Yeah, and it's alignment. It's an alignment. I mean, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. It also wasn't built by one Italian.
No, it wasn't.
You know, it was built by a whole thousands of people.
If you manage expectations up front, you know, when dealing with different personalities, you know, this is where we're headed. Are we in it together, or are we going to walk away from each other? You're in a very high pressure. I can just imagine that anybody can steal your idea, go and pitch it to somebody else that knows somebody else that knows somebody that you want to know. And how do you manage that? That's like a question, because for us, this is what happens with us. We've got a next innovative campaign. It's a marketing campaign that takes us 2-3 weeks of endless meetings to come up with design, do the graphics, do the budget. We pump it out, and 30 seconds later, the dealer world sees it, they copy it, and it's, you know, it's lost. We're okay, let's do the next one. With you, not so.
No.
How do you come up with another Ludik? How do you protect that IP?
Yeah.
I mean, you're walking around like this all day. I can't tell this oak that. How does that work?
Yeah, look, I think it's important to have a substantial body of work, you know, because they're imitating. They're not stealing, they're imitating, right? They're imitating what you're doing, which is a different way of thinking, right?
Yes.
They're not taking what you have, right? They're imitating what you have, right?
Okay, love that.
Which is
love that perspective.
Which is a differentiator, right? Which means if someone's imitating what you're doing good.
Yes.
Right? You're doing something that's trend setting. You know, you're thinking next level. They're imitating that because their thinking isn't on the level that your thinking is at. With us, it's slightly different because someone can literally take my script and they can go and pitch it to someone else and they can actually make that script. You know? So it is different. So there's kind of writers' bodies and guilds and stuff that you can register a script with and whatever. But I mean, you know, copyright law is a tricky thing. You can only change 3 things and it's not the same anymore. So there are things like that. But it's also about who's in your circle. And luckily, when it comes to broadcasters like CakeNet and Netflix and Emmet and those guys, they are very cautious, right? And that's why access is so difficult with them. They are very cautious to accept anything from anyone.
Okay, got you.
Right? Like for instance, in Hollywood, how it works is you can only submit something if you're a producer, if you're an agent, or if you're a lawyer. That's the only way that you can approach them and pitch them something, right?
Because you've got a reputation to protect.
Reputation, but also you've probably got the paperwork in order behind it, right? So luckily the shows that we've been busy with, Ludik's paperwork is 10 years old. You know, I've got a 10-year track record of creating Ludik, writing Ludik, pitching Ludik, all those things. The same with some other shows and movies we have. But it is a treacherous kind of thing to do. You know, you'd think it'll be difficult enough to sell an idea to someone, but now someone can steal your idea, you know, which is also, it's also, I have to say, it's also difficult to be groundbreaking in what we do. If you think about the world of Netflix and Amazon and Mnet and CakeNet and Showmax and all these guys, they pump out content globally, continuously.
Yeah.
You know,
it's very difficult to be innovative in that.
It's a highly competitive market in that sense, you know. So obviously you've got the technology, it's like in your industry, you've got technology on the one side, got creativity at the other side, you have certain insight, certain data. At the end of the day, I feel it's a feeling.
It's a feeling.
I believe it's a feeling. I believe it's a feeling because I knew with Ludik, I had a feeling. I had a feeling for it. I could feel I'm in touch with it, and I know it, and I knew I could make it tangible. I didn't know exactly what it's going to be, because you never do in what we do. There's so many aspects to it. It's not like, in your industry, this car, this model, the mileage, kind of what the market value is for, what it is, right?
Endless data.
Endless data. With us, it's interpretive. It's we write it the way we see it, Then you have 9 other head of department HODs who read it and they interpret it in their own ways, right? Then we sit around the table and the production designer is like, I think this table should be green. And I'm like, no, I always thought it was going to be red. So it becomes, you can't imagine what it's going to be until it's done. Because there's so many creative people involved in the supply chain. That's why I say it's important to have a feel for it. Because I can go on instinct and say, this is the way we should go. This is right, this isn't right. But it's an instinctual feeling that you have for it. That's why showrunners are so important on series, right? Because one director you can, but it's a ton of work. So you have different directors doing different episodes, right? Just because the workload is so much. But you have a showrunner that oversees each and every episode in its creative capacity to make sure that everything falls in line, because you can't have one director going in that direction and the other one going in this direction with a character or with a scene or with a tone, right? So it's important to set the tone. Also on Ludik, with Ian Gabriel and Arnold Vosloo, I would pick them up every morning and I would drop them off every night. Because in the car, because we had such a tight shooting schedule, in the car, we would literally discuss what's happening today and what the plan is.
And you're managing state of mind, and
exactly.
you're managing time.
It's exactly that.
So,
because I'm their first influence and I'm the last influence each and every day.
It's very important. So I think that I've struggled with as a leader in our company and as a CEO that
doesn't look like you're struggling.
I really am. And one of the best advice that I've ever received is, so I come out of different meetings that have different energies every day. Sales meeting, it's here. Yes. I mean, it's rough. It's a very intense meeting. Yes. Let's go kill it today. Let's go win the war for our customer.
Yeah.
Then I come out of that meeting into a marketing or creative meeting with that energy.
Yes.
And you work with creatives all day long. And I just, instead of somebody has put their enormous amount of time and effort on presenting something, I just bash it. I said, this is shit. I don't like it. Sorry. And that person, I could have easily just slapped him across or her across the face. It wouldn't hurt so much.
It's the same feeling, for sure.
I think me bashing their work is worse.
Yes.
And navigating in your world must be your EQ. I picked it up the moment that you walked in. Your EQ is off the charts. It's like it's through the sky, and it has to be, because speaking to a actor and then turning around and speaking to a sound person, it's 2 different planets.
Yes.
But they're both creative,
yes.
and you have to be gentle.
Yes. No, it is. It is exactly that. I don't think we always articulate it in such a way, right? In such a pragmatic, in kind of academical way, But it is exactly that, and I think that's what emotional intelligence is. It's being able to speak to different people on different levels.
Yeah.
Kind of at the same time.
At the same time, that's very hard.
Yeah, it is. But I also think like one of the things I like to pride myself on is consistency again. Like I like to be the same guy with you that I am with Arnold, that I am with Ian or Harold or Zozo that I sound, or I like to be the same guy with everybody.
Yeah, that's very hard to do, to manage your state that well. Very hard.
It is very hard to do. But I think people appreciate it more.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's a true professional.
Exactly, because if you approach me, I'm probably going to make a totally inappropriate joke before we seriously discuss any subject.
But you didn't start doing that today. You've been doing it for the past X amount of times that I've met you.
I've been doing that since I was in high school.
Got you.
You know what I mean? And that's my personality. I make jokes and I make inappropriate jokes. but I do it as sort of like a sitcom character. You know what I mean? I sometimes say things that are absurd because it breaks the ice. People just like kind of drop their facade.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool, I can be comfortable. Right?
I was very nervous, getting you in the studio because I'm very nervous because I mean this is our creative space, and here comes a person that here comes Netflix. I saw you as Netflix. You're walking and I'm like shit. This. What's going on? Is this chair clean? Like, did we mess coffee on the chair? I was very nervous, but that's exactly what you did. You came in and on your intro, just a very cool dude. That was me adding it. After spending 15 minutes with you, just a solid guy.
I always wanted to be cool.
Yeah, you are. You're
wanted to be cool.
Very cool.
No, so I think you're right, but I think it's also, like I said, consistency is important, but not just for me and other people. It's for me to other people.
To other people.
It's important to be consistent. And it's not that. And look, I think some people may struggle with that. It's not something I personally struggle with. I think I'm pretty consistent. You have your ups and downs. You got your good days. You got your bad days.
We all do.
But
we don't walk on water.
No, but in your own spectrum, you're still who you are. You're still what people perceive you as.
Yeah, beautiful. And like very creative people fascinate me. What do you do? What do you do on a day off? Like people always ask me because my phone literally never stops. I get 4,000 WhatsApps a day. Yeah, and the thing that I do on a Sunday or on my day off, like I want to get away from it as much as possible, but for a set amount of time, and I want to get back in it because it drives me, it fuels me.
For sure, it's a balance.
What do you do if you had nothing to do the day? Like it's a Sunday, hanging out with the family, or are you going examining, your script, your next episodes? What's a off day for you?
So an off day for me, I do spend time with the family. I do enjoy it. I do love that.
You've got two girls as well.
I've got
beautiful.
2 daughters, Danica and Yunei, and they're beautiful and they're innocent and they are
amazing.
They are creative and they are fierce and they are loving and they are like, I adore them. Me and my wife, we adore them, and so I do spend time with them. But to be honest, I do struggle with clearing my mind completely. When I'm sitting alone, or when I'm even sitting sometimes in conversation, I always think about pipeline and strategy, and just how we can get there next, how we can get there quicker, how can we diversify, how can we have different things going at the same time, where we're headed, not just with work, also with family, like where the kids headed. Is our country a safe place? Will they have work when they graduate from school, from university? Like, do I need to get them a British passport? Like, what will be the best thing for them? What options can I give them to open their horizons for them? What can I leave them with?
Thinking man.
But it's a thinking man. You have one of those questions. You are, who am I when the spotlight's not on me, right? So I'm jumping one of your questions. But when I read that, I was like, okay. It's going to sound strange, but I think I am a semi-depressed optimist.
A semi-depressed optimist.
I think I've always been that.
That just described me.
Yeah. So because you can sit there and you can feel optimistic about what you can accomplish, but you feel semi-depressed because the grind is going to take to get there.
Yeah, and I think maybe depressed is a strong word.
Depressed is a strong word.
I think you are always. Let me think of the right word, how to describe it. I know the feeling, 100%. You are fearful.
Yes.
I'm fearful because in my mind, I know I can execute on this.
Yes.
But can I?
Yes.
A while ago, I spoke to somebody that's in the insurance industry. He has over 35,000 people that sell insurance for him.
Wow.
Single individual. And he said to me, also an American, he said, Bobby, I have one person on my left shoulder, on my right shoulder that says, you're ready for the next level. You can do this. You can send your kids to the best schools and give them the future that they deserve. You can execute your business strategy to grow 30% in the next 6 months.
Yes.
And on the other shoulder, there's the other guy that says, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
So always fearful but optimistic, because like you said,
I think you're right. Fearful but optimistic.
Yeah,
Exactly.
beautiful. You know the grind. You know the
Yeah.
grind
Yeah.
that it will take to get there.
Because you can lie to anyone, but you can't lie to yourself.
No, at night.
If you go and you sit on your bed alone and you have an honest thought and you really think about what your potential is, it's frightening.
Oh man, that's
Because you know how many times you've let yourself down.
yeah.
And that's scary. There's
Very.
often letting someone else down or not meeting their expectations. But if you're not fearful of your own expectations, you need some new perspective.
I get to work with a lot of talented people during the day in my environment, and one characteristic that I always look out for, and I'm glad you mentioned it, is very ambitious, very driven, lazy people.
Yeah.
So a metric for us in our company is you have to make a certain amount of calls a day, and you have to get in a certain amount of apps and a certain amount of demos.
Yes.
So you'll have a boy or a girl. You know, I spoke to a girl yesterday. I said to her, your tonality on the phone, why are you not making R1 million a month? She sounds amazing on the phone.
Yeah.
Let me check your log sheet. You have to do X amount of calls. You're at 50%. No wonder you're not hitting your target.
Yeah. That turnover is not enough.
Not enough. But, you know, presenting yourself as this is what I'm going to do. Watch out. Like, says to the company,
Yeah.
I'm coming for you. Not making the calls. Lazy.
Yeah.
Lazy. Wow.
Yeah.
If you could spend an entire day with someone, dead or alive, who's that person and what are you asking him? I want to know if you're going in your industry or you're going like the different direction.
Absolutely deep diving my industry. I would like to spend it with two people.
Thought so. Okay.
I would like to spend the day with Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese.
Oh.
And I would like for us to, in the morning, read a script, any script. I don't care what the script is. And then I would just like us to have amazingly abstract conversations about character, story world, acting approach, directing approach, and just like pick their brains on a creative level. I think that would be that would be my ultimate. If I can have anything for a day, I would have that.
Those two.
Those two things.
Amazing. I love them both. And I think Leonardo deservingly won his Oscar.
For sure.
I've watched The Revenant, I don't know how many times.
Yeah,
I've watched it many times. I've watched Wolf of Wall Street more times though, because it's like it's me. I'm like that guy. Let's go out and kill everybody. Let's go to war. Amazing, beautiful. It takes a village to raise a man or a woman. It takes a big village to raise somebody great like you. If you can point out three, I know there's 300, there's just a village, but three people that come top of mind that influenced and shaped you as the man that you are today, who would those three people be?
Yeah. So I actually gave this some serious thought, right? Because it's a thing, right? You have to consider these things.
Yes.
And
it is.
I came up with three really strong women.
Women,
right?
okay.
Yeah. In no specific order, right? The first one would be Miss Louette de Jager, Juffrou Louette de Jager, who was my biology teacher and my drama director, right? The main reason being is because she saw me as a person. When I was a stout gat laaitie in high school, smoking cigarettes, drinking, riding my motorcycle, and doing drama, she saw me. I know it sounds weird, but have you ever felt the feeling of someone seeing you?
I had a Afrikaans teacher, Juffrou Snyman. She saw me as well.
She saw you. She saw you as a person, as a human being, and she treated you as such.
Yes.
No matter the clout, no matter whatever, she treated me as a person. And I really took to her. We had like this weird connection. It's actually funny. She actually, let me tell you the whole story. I'll loop back to that. But then, what happened was there was a big turning point in my life, and also about self-awareness, and also taking control of your life. Because after school, I started studying auditing for UNISA. Because I never thought I was going to go and study. I didn't come from money or anything. So I started studying through UNISA for a friend of mine whose parents gave me an opportunity to do kind of also study. So we just started. I think we did like one module or two modules through UNISA. and we were sitting outside of his house one night, Marcus, and we smoked a cigarette when I was still smoking, and I told him, like, I'm really fucking, so can I swear?
Of course, we had Jack Barrow here the other day, and
yeah.
we can definitely swear.
I was just like, I'm really fucking unhappy. I'm like, deep down in me, it feels like I'm busy dying. Like, I'm really unhappy.
This is just out of high school.
Just out of high school, yeah. And then he looked at me, he's like, I know exactly how I feel the same way.
Wow.
And he was like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to go to film school. And I've never thought of it before then. I've never thought about becoming a filmmaker before that moment, in that split second. I was just like, I want to go to film school. I don't know what film schools there was back then. I didn't do
Nothing in
research.
Secunda, I can
Nothing
guarantee
in
you.
Secunda, yeah, exactly. So I was like, I want to go to film school. And he was like, cool, I want to go to fashion school.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to do fashion. I was like, well, cool. And then the next day we got on his mom's computer and we Googled film schools. I got to go to AFTA, he got to go to Lysoff, which is London International School of Fashion in Rosebank. And everything just weirdly fell into place.
Is he still in that environment?
He's not in that environment, but he finished his course and he did some design work. He made some nice bespoke suits and whatnot, but he went into a different direction.
Okay.
But what was nice about that situation was that what triggered that whole thought train was Juffrou de Jager.
Yeah.
Because in Secunda, in the spa, the shopping, the shop spa, I ran into her and I haven't seen her in like a year. Right? And I was like, hey, how are you? Good, and you? And she was like, so what are you doing? And I'm like, no, I'm studying auditing. And I was like really proud of the fact that I'm studying auditing, because I didn't think I was going to go and study. I thought I was going to work at a mine or at Sasol or whatever, right? And I was like, cool, I'm studying auditing. Like, it's a huge thing for me, you know? And the look on her face was immediate, like, really?
You're not an auditor.
And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, but is that what you want to do? But without ego, without sarcasm, just a true genuine response was,
Is that what you want to do?
really? Is that what you want to do? And in that moment, Bobby, I immediately was like,
No.
shit, I don't know. No, I don't think so. I didn't tell it to her because it was overwhelming in the moment. I was just like, yeah, that's what I want to do. You know, because you're young and you know, like, yeah, that's what I want to do. But then afterwards, that planted the seed. It was like, is that what you want to do? And that created a big self-awareness for me about, you can decide what you want to do. And I know this sounds crazy, but you can literally decide what you want to do. You can decide what you would do as a job. You can decide who you marry.
Self-awareness.
You know, it's self-awareness, and also putting purpose into what you want to do, where you want to be. So she played a big part in my life. And what I wanted to come back to was that now with Ludik, you know, being on global Netflix, we're friends on Facebook, and then she sent me a message on Messenger, like out of the blue, because she's living in Texas.
In Texas, in the US?
Texas, in the US, yeah. Her and her husband and the 2 daughters, who are now both big and married, I think. But she just sent me a message saying, like, she's super proud of me, and she's praying for me every single day, and you know, I've been in her prayers for many years and what. And I told her the story I just told you. I was like, you know what? I need to thank you because you saw me as a person. You treated me like a human being. And because I was rough in high school, I was a dick in high school. I wasn't the best guy. I didn't have the path ahead of me laid out. And she treated me like a person, and that changed something in me. So it's her, Ludik de Jager. The second one is my mom, Amanda Bass, not her mom, who is an incredible woman. Raised 3 kids alone. My dad left us when we were young. I tried to rekindle a relationship with him, but there was just never any traction, so I kind of put that aside. That's gone, done and dusted. But she's not educated, you know, she doesn't have a degree or fancy job. She worked basic jobs, but she was always there for us. And she learned me and my brother and my sister to say, I love you. It's okay to say I love you. It's okay to give a hug. It's okay to give a kiss. She taught me affection, right, which is very important in my life today, especially with my wife and my children. So kudos to her, all the things that she went through. We won't delve into that today, but all the things that she went through, love her for that. And then the third one is my wife, Mashari. She is a very strong woman. She's very strong. She's very stern. and she is much more untrusting than I am, which I think is a good thing. I think because of my upbringing and my mom and everything, I tended to trust people very easily, and she was always the pragmatic person saying, but what if this person doesn't have your best interest at heart?
Hold on, let's first give it a bit of time.
Yes, and she's still that person today. She will always look out for me. She will always be like, yeah, but I don't like how this is happening or what this person is doing. You should watch out for this one. She's always that person, and sometimes to the death of me, because I'm like, I want to see the good and I want to push and I want to do that, be that guy. But she's always the voice of reasoning, the voice of caution, but also the voice of unconditional love. She's always like, whatever happens, we're good, but
Beautiful.
You better go for it.
Yes.
But watch out for these guys.
Yeah.
Which is what you need. Sometimes you need a solid soundboard, and that's what my wife luckily is. And she's a great mother to our children. She's a fantastic one. So I think those three people kind of balance me. Juffrou de Jager taught me that I could ask and wish more for myself. My mother taught me that it's okay to love and be open and be in touch with that side of yourself. And my wife taught me to be aware.
Be aware.
Like, be aware of where you are, be aware of who you're dealing with, be aware of where you're headed, and don't just trust everyone, choose who you can trust, be aware of those situations. I think those are the three ones that I chose for this conversation. I think those are applicable.
Beautiful. Best advice that you've ever received?
So, it's a couple of words. So onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards.
Yeah. So Nadia, Arnold's sister, Nadia Vosloo, we developed the screenplay together and spent a lot of time together. And me and Anna Marie, we joke about it because it's beautiful. Because every time we would get a knock on something, like people turn something down, because in my industry we get turned down a lot. You can imagine.
You have to have a thick skin.
You have to have a thick skin, and you get turned down by everybody. And then something is dead, then it's alive again, and it's all over the place. So Nadia's got the saying. She would always, in a bad conversation, she would also, or disappointing conversation, she would end with the words onwards and upwards. And that's beautiful. And me and Anna Marie, if we get knocked down by something or something happens, we just go like onwards and upwards.
Yeah.
We move on, but we move up.
We move up. Beautiful.
Yeah.
If you could, I just pick up resiliency as one of those things that I want to answer the question before I ask it, but I'm sure you're going to have much more to add. If you could give your best piece of advice for our viewers.
In terms of career?
In terms of career, yes.
In terms of career, I would say that think before you act.
Think before you act.
And once you've thought about it and you act, commit to it. So like you said, I think it's one of my favorite words in the world has always been, since high school, it's been relentless. So be relentless, but also be clever.
Yeah.
There's a difference between being relentless and being a bully.
Yes.
And being relentless in what you know.
Yes.
What you know for sure.
Think before you act. Once thought about it, commit and execute, and be relentless.
Yes.
Love it. That's our book of the month for our company. We do a book of the month every month. Currently, it's Relentless by Tim Grover.
Relentless, just be relentless in a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah.
If you could be a fly on the wall and just overhear a conversation, who's in the room and what are they discussing? Love to pick your brain here.
I'm going to throw an oddball at you.
Yes.
So I love conspiracy theories because I live in the world of literature fiction, right? So I love conspiracy theories. So a weird one. So the whole Pizzagate scandal.
Yes.
Right? So imagine if you can be a fly on the wall between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell when they were talking alone.
I would like to be a fly on the wall with you there. Can you imagine?
I mean, can you imagine? Can you? That's a crazy thought.
Yeah.
Like just of conspiracy theory, I would love to know that because no one knows that.
Yeah, no one does. You're right.
No one knows the truth about that whole situation, and I think the truth will be a new chapter in the world's history. To be honest.
Yeah, agree.
You know?
Agree.
So I was thinking about it. I think I would, as much as I would hate to hear the truth,
Yes.
I would want to know it.
Yes. Me
You know?
too.
Yeah.
Interesting. Dark, but interesting.
Look,
Very
dark.
dark.
Look, I wrote Ludik, dark. You know, what happens behind closed doors. And I think that's like the biggest thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
at least in our lifetime, I think.
Of
That would be
course.
the biggest thing behind closed doors is that.
I think it is because, you know, things have happened in the past, but due to technology and
Yes.
social media and, you know,
Yeah.
the speed and the scale at which news spreads, I think
Yes.
that would change the world.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I want to ask you favorite book, and I can't ask you favorite movie, but like top 3 movies that of all time. It will be unfair to ask you favorite movie.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start with the book, right?
Yeah.
So I read a book way back when that I got through for a friend of mine. It's called The Producers by Tim Adler.
Okay.
Right? So it's basically each chapter is based on a different producer. And one of the things that stood out for me in that book is obviously they talk about their triumphs and tribulations. So 2 things stood out in that book. So a lot of people don't know that Michael Douglas, the actor,
Yes.
is a fantastic producer.
Wow.
He's like, just go on IMDb, go check out Michael Douglas movies he produced. He's an amazing producer. And to the extent that they had a problem, some of the crew were caught, there was a flood, and they couldn't kind of get the crew over the river. And I can't remember the movie's name, but then he brought in trucks. And he built like a sandbank.
Yeah.
Like a sandbank
Yeah.
for the crew and trucks to come over that. So they called it the Islands of Douglas.
Wow.
Right? They kind of named it because like he went to the fullest extent to keep the things going, to be relentless in the pursuit of getting done what needs to get done. Right?
Yeah.
So that was like a key lesson. Is like you can go to that extent to get things done. Whatever it takes, get it done.
Get it
right?
done.
There's that thing that like ons is nou hier.
Yeah.
Like ons is nou hier en ons moet klaar kry.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of mindset that we approach things on set. Like we're here now, we kill the bull. Like we do
Let's do
what
it.
we need to do now, right? And then the second thing I stood in that book is about Jerry Bruckheimer, right?
Yes.
He's obviously an extremely successful producer, but there was someone on set with him when they were doing the first Top Gun, and he saw Jerry Bruckheimer standing and like looking off into the distance, and he thought, oh, let me go and chat to Jerry. And I think the guy was like the behind the scenes photographer or something, and he went there and he asked Jerry like, are you thinking what an audience would like to see? And Jerry turned around and he said, no, I tell them what they want to see.
Oh.
Right? And just the confidence and arrogance in that is significant. I mean, that's a profound thought to have. Like, no, I don't think what they would like to see, because they don't know what they want to see.
I tell them what they want to see.
I tell them what they
So the
want to see.
difference between confidence and arrogance is there's one difference, and that's the result.
Exactly.
Nothing else.
Exactly.
So he definitely was confident, not arrogant.
Absolutely. He knows what people want to see.
Did you see Top Gun 2, the new one?
It's amazing.
I'm the biggest fan as well.
Yeah. Have you heard about the theory?
No. No.
So the theory is that that Tom Cruise's character actually dies, and the entire movie that plays off is actually his life flashing before his eyes.
Oh no.
So that's like one theory. I don't think it's true, but it's an interesting theory that fans come up with.
Yeah.
So Google that later and check it out.
So I was very surprised. Like, how do you look in your 20s when who knows how old Tom Cruise is? But he looks like
60.
he's
I think he's 60. Yeah.
He looks like he's 20 years old.
Yeah.
So he can definitely he can punt out another 2 or 3 Top Guns.
Oh,
Definitely.
for
He's
sure.
got it in him.
But if you think logistically about that film,
Man,
no one else can make that movie.
no.
There's no other producer or actor that can pull off the logistics that movie needs to get made.
I saw a short clip on I think it was on Facebook. It's Matt Damon. I'm gonna find it and I'm gonna show you. It's Matt Damon speaking about Tom Cruise. So it's about a scene
that
in
clip you're
Mission.
talking
Have you seen it?
Is the guy I spoke to my safety
Yeah,
officer?
I show him the pitch. Like, this is my safety guy. I show him the pitch. So he says, no, it's too dangerous. We can't do it.
Yeah.
So like, what did you do? So I get another safety guy.
Exactly.
And then he just does it.
But again, it's
I
the
agree with
relentless pursuit. It's like the relentless pursuit to do what you need to do.
And touching on what you just said, I don't think anyone else can pull it off. You're right.
No, impossible. With the U.S. Navy, the fighter jets, like they can't.
They can't.
They can't.
Unless it's Tom Cruise.
Unless it's Tom Cruise and Jerry Bruckheimer.
And Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yeah. So movies, right? 3 favorite movies.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan.
Okay.
Right? Just because he's got such a unique stamp he puts on everything. So I would say one of my all-time favorite movies. In no specific order.
Can't wait to hear this.
Right? Martin Scorsese's The Departed.
The Departed, yes, beautiful movie.
Is a fantastic piece of cinema. I mean, that'll just hold up forever.
Yes.
Right. I would say Wolf of Wall Street is also one of my favorites.
Very good.
I might go 5 on this, Bobby.
Okay.
So The Departed, Wolf of Wall Street. Then I would go Forrest Gump.
Yes.
Is a remarkable film. And then I would go Tarantino. I would probably go Pulp Fiction is obviously a fantastic classic.
Yeah.
But I would say Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
Is also one of my all-time. It's a newer film, but one of my all-time favorite films.
That was with Brad Pitt, if I'm not
Brad
mistaken.
Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio.
And Leo, yes.
Yeah,
that was a good movie.
It's a fantastic movie. Just the entire slow build up to that ending is just fantastic. And then I would say number 5. What would be an interesting choice? I would say Blood Diamond.
Blood Diamond.
Which also interesting it used to be called the Okavango Delta.
Yes.
It used to be called that, and it was written 10 years before it got made. And it was at that stage, it was the highest paid for script in the history of Hollywood. I think they paid like $2 million for the rights to that script to produce
really?
it. Yeah. So also a long history behind that movie. And Ed Zwick did a fantastic job on that.
I use a section of that movie daily. I always say TIA. This is Africa, my friend. This is not TIA. This is not for pussies here.
Exactly. And you know what's interesting, because I know Arnold so well now. There's a line where he picks up the ground in like the wine farm, and he says, you know why the color of the earth is red, of the soil is red, because of all the blood that's been spilled here in Africa. And he suggested that line to Ed Zwick, the director, and they put it in the movie.
Wow.
Which I love. I love that sort of thing.
Are you a car guy? I think you are.
I am a car guy.
Pick it up a little bit.
I'm definitely. I grew up. I mean, everyone in my family rode motorcycles. I'm a big car guy. I used to have Speed and Sound magazine, Bike SA when I was growing up. I'm a car guy and I'm a motorcycle guy.
So, first car.
My first car I got from my mom, my dear mom. She bought a Opel Kadett 1.3 LS 1988 model.
What color?
It was like an off-white.
Okay, I
it was
remember
like an egg white and like an eggshell kind of color. And she gave me that car when I went to study. So the first year we studied, I didn't have a car because we couldn't afford one. And then my sister bought her a new car, Opel Corsa, and then she gave me her 1.3 LS Opel Kadett, which was a great car. We called him Opa because he was old.
Yeah.
But it used to brake consistently. Like the breakdowns standing to the M1 highway on the way to varsity. It's like it was a horrible car reliability wise, but I loved it because it was my first car. And what was great about that car is I sold it, and then I bought my first big motorcycle.
Okay, which was?
Which was a Kawasaki. Was it the KLE? It was the KLX 500. It was the V twin. Which was my first motorcycle. And then after riding that for 5 years, when I worked for a media agency in Sunninghill, one day my throttle cable snapped on the M1, just there by Buccleuch. And I was just like, you know what, I can't handle this anymore, you know? I need to get a new bike. Just because you get that itch, right?
Yes.
And then I bought the BMW F800 GS, which was such a pleasure. I mean, ABS, heated grips.
Oh man,
you know,
now you're a real Lani, eh?
Real Lani. No, that was a fantastic machine. I love that BMW of mine. So yeah, but I think next up would probably be a nice, badass Harley Davidson Dyna Glide. I think that's the next one on the list. Yeah.
And dream car.
Dream car, I think like the Land Cruiser 300 is amazing. The one we use in Ludik is
that color. It looked good.
That color, but just just the way it drives, it's a fantastic. It's such a luxury car, you know, but such a capable car.
Yeah.
So I would love one of those as like a daily driver. It's a big car for a daily, but then for like something special, I'd probably go with like an old classic Jag.
A Jag,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'd probably
Okay.
go for like a classic Jaguar.
XJ or
Just-
XKR.
Yeah,
something
exactly.
like that.
Just what's the one with the long nose?
It's a XJ.
Two-seater, the XJ.
The
Yeah.
two-seater,
The two-seater, yeah.
it's probably the XKR.
The XJ, yeah. So it's just so you have some sense of, you know, what's the right word? Some esteem.
Yes,
You know,
got you.
It gives you some clout.
Got you.
Yeah, I think Jaguar's good for that.
My friend, you've definitely left me better than you found me.
Thanks,
Which is-
you too.
Which is phenomenal. We've learned so much. I love your journey. I love your story. I know that you are just getting started.
Thank you.
You're an overnight, 10-year success in the making. and this is move one. There is many more to come.
sure.
You're a true professional. And you're passionate. You love the grind. You love the work.
Absolutely.
And that's why we are going to continuously see you.
Thank
It's
you
been
very
an
much.
absolute honor. Thank you for sharing your time with me and with our audience, and all the best of luck for your new endeavors.
Thanks, Bobby. I appreciate it.